Bright morning stars are rising. Bright morning stars are rising. Bright morning stars are rising. Day is a-breaking in my soul. Oh, where are our dear fathers? Oh, where are our dear fathers? They are down in the valley of praying. Day is a-breaking in my soul. Oh, where are our dear mothers? Oh, where are our dear mothers? They are gone to heaven a-shouting. Day is a-breaking in my soul. Bright morning stars are rising. Bright morning stars are rising. Bright morning stars are rising. Day is a-breaking in my soul.
Welcome to worship with the Unitarian Universalist community of Charlotte.
I'm Eve Stevens, one of the ministers of this community, and I welcome those of you for whom this is your spiritual home.
And I'm Jay Leach, also one of the ministers, and I welcome those of you who are our guests on this day.
Today we offer, as we do each year, our Memorial Sunday service.
In harmony with other religious traditions, themselves in harmony with the autumnal decline in the Northern Hemisphere, we come together to remember those we have loved and lost in this past year.
This Memorial Sunday faces two momentous challenges. A service of this sort offered virtually is just not the same as sharing a space in which we can be aware of and sensitive to those around us who are grieving.
And it is the very cause of our need to remain virtual that makes this even more challenging. The deaths, the deeply personal losses so many of us feel are set in the context of national, global mourning. The whole world groans in lament for the hundreds of thousands of lives lost to this still surging pandemic.
And yet, what melds our individual lives into a community remains. Even still stronger and more enduring, than that which necessitates our separation.
So too, we can honor the breathtakingly vast scope of loss, while still feeling so very deeply the particular pain of our own very particular losses.
We come together to face together the sorrow which marks us individually and collectively.
And two, we come together to celebrate both the lives of our lost loved ones and our love for them, which abides even still.
Ours is a more reflective service today.
We invite you to settle in, to open your hearts and your souls, to join us for this Memorial Sunday service. Once again, we kindle the flame of our chalice, sacred symbol of our liberating faith. May its light on this day shine in symbolic witness to the lives of those we have loved and lost in this past year, reminding us that their lights remain with us, though their lives among us have now ended. May this flickering flame also call to mind the warmth of our loving community, joined on this day in shared sympathy and celebration.
welcome again to our service. I extend a special welcome to those of you tuning in for the first time or who are returning again after a recent experience with us. Though you may not know us yet, ours is a community where we care for one another, where we remember week by week that we do not journey through this life alone. Visitors, guests, whatever losses you have experienced in this past year, whatever grief you carry, may you find some measure of solace here with us today. We'd love for you to join in the life of this community in other ways as well. You can subscribe to our weekly e-newsletter Currents or explore our website for the latest opportunities to learn and to connect with others here. If you are interested in becoming a member, or if you just want to learn more about us, I encourage you to reach out to our membership coordinator, Kelly Greene. Her email is Kelly, Kelly, @uuccharlotte.org. And if you'd like to speak more with Jay or with me, you can let Kelly know that as well. This Wednesday at 7 p.m., join us on Zoom for Member Appreciation Night, Halloween edition. There'll be games, prizes, a chance to see familiar faces, and make new friends. In community, we are sending love to Becky Whittington as she continues to recover from an injury at home. We hold in our hearts Liza Pratt and Richard and Liz Pratt as Liza's mother, Richard's sister-in-law, recovers from an emergency surgery. We hold in prayer Morty Rubel and his partner Shirley Lyons as Morty remains in the care of hospice.
as has been the case for so many of you, this has been a year of momentous personal loss for me. Among the people who I love deeply and lost in recent months is my beloved writing teacher, Pat Snyder. It is in honor of Pat's role in my life that I share with you again a poem of hers that we have heard here before. From Pat Snyder, Is There an Angel in the House? Is there an angel in the house? If there is, come to me. Roost, if you roost, on my shoulder. Put the cool palms of your hands lightly on my eyes. Wrap my nakedness in wings. And if you aren't too tired or otherwise occupied, and if it isn't too tacky a request, please rock me. I am bruised. If you will hold me until morning, I promise I will rise and light the fire and break the bread and put back on my shoulder my corner of the world. But for now, I could use the shelter of a wing. Excuse me. Excuse me. Is there an angel in the house?
Our second reading is a poem entitled 4 Years by the British poet Pamela Gillilan. The smell of him went soon from all his shirts. I sent them for Jumble and the sweaters and suits. The shoes held more of him. He was printed into his shoes. I did not burn or throw or give them away. Time has denatured them now. Nothing left. There will never be a hair of his in a comb. But I want to believe that in the shifting house dust, minute presences still drift. An eyelash, a hard crescent cut from a fingernail that sometimes, between the folds of a curtain or the covers of a book, I touch a fleck of his skin. A few weeks ago, my sister and I headed down to my mom's house for the weekend. We went on walks, the three of us. We made meals together. We talked, and then we talked some more. All the stories we tend to cut short on the phone came tumbling out of us. And then, when we could postpone it no longer, we made our way to my mom's bedroom closet. steadied ourselves a moment before squeezing in together. Conversation paused, bodies still, standing there elbow to elbow. My dad died 3 years ago. Somehow or other, by our internal timeline of grief, we determined together that it had come time to go through Dad's shirts and shoes and ties to figure out what to give away and what to keep. I had made a point of avoiding that closet since Dad died. Sometimes it had been pleasant to think that, yes, my sister and I will live in places that Dad will never visit, start relationships, friendships with people Dad will never meet. Yes, new songs and books will be written that Dad will never hear, never read. Life will continue on. But it had been pleasant to think at times that his side of the closet might remain unchanged, just in case. Shirts always hanging on hangers just as he left them. His favorite ties still conveniently knotted and ready to go. The sweaters folded and stacked on the shelf by his own 2 hands. Instead, we put the shirts we couldn't remember seeing him wear in a giveaway pile. I took the blue button-down with white stripes that I picture him wearing throughout my early childhood, like a cartoon character who appears in every scene wearing the exact same outfit. I took, too, the red plaid shirt I can still see him wearing, sitting on the floor just like a kid only a few years ago, to open Christmas presents. And I took half a dozen others to hang in my own closet. I'm not sure why, other than I don't want them to go anywhere else. Dad wasn't perfect. He had road rage like you would not believe. When we fought, it stung for days. And I have shoe boxes full of the postcards he sent every time he traveled for work. He showed up when I needed him, and I miss him so. Poet Elizabeth Alexander wrote a memoir called The Light of the World, in which she narrates the slow, painful, courageous process of reconstructing her life after her beloved husband, Ficre, died suddenly after 15 years of building a world together. Ficre, a painter, a chef, a man who put blueberries in his oatmeal and used funny voices while reading bedtime stories to their children. Alexander writes, each of us made it possible for the other. Each believed in the other unsurpassingly. In all marriages, she admits, there is struggle, and ours was no different in that regard. But we always came to the other shore, dusted off, and then said, "There you are, my love." And then all of a sudden, he was gone. Alexander asks, "Where are you, Ficre?" You are part of this storm, this wind, this rain. Ficre in the bright leaves that have been falling from the trees in the afternoon light. Ficre everywhere, ficre nowhere. And for a long time, Alexander says, sorrow like vapor, sorrow like smoke, sorrow like quicksand, sorrow like an ocean, sorrow louder and fuller than the church songs, sorrow everywhere with nowhere to go. Stunningly, Alexander finds that the sorrow does not dissipate when she distances herself from her memories of Ficre. Instead, the suffocating, immediate kind of sorrow begins to recede in waves the more she applies herself to remembering in vivid detail what made Ficre Ficre. And so I write, she says, to fix him in place, to pass time in his company, to make sure I remember even though I know I will never forget. Mary Oliver writes, I think of each life as a flower, as common as a field daisy and as singular. Each life a flower, as common as a field daisy and as singular. In May, as the death toll in the United States from the coronavirus reached 100,000 lives lost, the New York Times published the names and one-line bios of 1,000 of those lives lost. With one phrase, just one detail of each of these 1,000 layered and complex people. The front page flooded with the names of lives and a tiny grain of their story. Marion Kruger, great-grandmother with an easy laugh. Richard Daniel Harris had a knack for games of chance. Ijeoma Afuke, Nigerian immigrant studying to become a nurse. Joseph Hammond stopped working to look after his aging parents. Valentina Blackhorse, aspiring leader in the Navajo Nation. Cynthia Whiting, determined to spoil her granddaughter. Miles Coker, freed from life in prison. Helen Bowles Days made what she had work for her. Each life is like a flower, as common as a field daisy and as singular. Each life common, waking, eating, working, loving. Each life singular, precious. Death, too, feels common this year. Relentlessly, wherever we turn, relentlessly, loss is brought back to our attention again and again. The reality of loss. the fear of loss. It's just so much to take in. It's just so much to hold. Death does feel common this year, but each grief is singular, as storied and layered as the life that ended. Recently, I went on an evening hike with my husband and our 2 little ones, hoping to tire them out before bed. On either side of us spanned fields filled with tall grass, straw-colored with accents of purple and red in the evening light. And everywhere, fall wildflowers, purple asters, chicory, elderberry, daisies, goldenrod. A symphony of color filling us with the beauty of it all. And as we headed for the car, our 3-year-old picked a small purple flower and handed it to me. I inhaled deeply and caught a fleeting sweetness. There was a cream-colored star at the center of the petals, which were slightly darker purple where his small fingers had squeezed. This one flower, out of a sea of color, this one flower, surrounded by this unfolding of life in all directions. This one flower, what a gift. What a gift to hold this precious, singular flower. To hold something real, something tender, something beautiful for a time.
Poet Charles Wright affirms, "The dead are constant in the white lips of the sea. Over and over through clenched teeth, they tell their story, the story each knows by heart. Remember me, speak my name. When the moon tugs at my sleeve, when the body of water is raised and becomes the body of light. Remember me. Speak my name." So now we name our beloved dead, especially those who have died in this past year. I invite you to settle in, to calm yourself, to close your eyes. We begin by acknowledging our awareness that for some, loss this year came in the form of the death of a beloved pet. We don't have the same social constructs with which to recognize such loss. But for those who lost a special pet, there is still the very real pain of grief. I invite you to name those particular losses, the names of pets you lost this year, aloud or in the silence of your heart. Many of us lost family members and special friends this year. We speak their names aloud or in the silence of our hearts with reverence on this day. Finally, in blessed memory, the names of members of our congregation who died in this past year. Betty Burns, Bob Bushhorn, Dot Miles, Lee Mobius, Marion Painter, Miguel Rodriguez, Shirley Wagner, Irene Wilkinson, Sacred to us in our memories are these we remember on this day. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we remember them.
In the blowing of the wind and in the chill of the winter, we remember them.
In the opening of buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember them.
In the blueness of the sky and in the warmth of the summer, we remember them.
In the rustling of leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we remember them.
When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember them.
When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember them.
When we have joys we yearn to share, we remember them.
So long as we live, they too shall live.
For they are now a part of us as we remember them.
Come rain, come down. Come rain, come down. And the tears of mercy come running down.
Say no words, it is too soon. Say no words out loud, but wrap your quiet arms around, hide us in your cloud. Come rain, come down. Come rain, come down. Heaven's tears of mercy
which of all the creatures knows this misery? Come rain, come down. Come rain, come
We hold in our hearts today the memory of all those whose gifts of energy, attention, and love have helped shape our lives. We reflect too this day on the gifts that each of us brings into community, providing support, nurturing the life we share with our generosity. For all the gifts you offer this community, we are deeply grateful. Remember us, you who are living.
Restore us, renew us,
Speak for our silence. Continue our work.
Bless the breath of life.
Sing of the hidden patterns.
Weave the web of peace.